Hi everybody, this is Shannon. I wanted to do a quick demonstration on getting started with Model Builder. If we haven't really used the toolbox much, you can shortcut it here, just open it and get it docked over on the right hand side. What we're going to do is just right click in any white area and add a toolbox. It opens the Add Toolbox window and we're going to add a new one over here. And you can see I already have one here. I would just say name it something like my models. I'll click it, highlight it, open it, and it adds it to the list of tools. Now, this isn't going to be a permanent resident in the toolbox. We're going to have to do some fancy saving of this, but we're going to do that later. I just want to help you get started. If we right-click on my models and do a new model, it opens the model window for us, and you can see that that new model has been added to the My Models toolbox. Okay. So this is going to be a drag and drop operation, and I started a brand new map because you don't really need to work in your really confusing, and it's going to get a lot worse, Antarctica map project. So I would recommend just, you can do it however you want. You can do that if you want, but we're going to use that original surface elevation clipped raster. You can see that I've done this about 8,000 times. So I'm going to drop that in here. Just drag and drop from catalog. Again, if you don't have that docked there, you can use the shortcut window up here to reopen it. And it comes in as an input oval. That's great. What we want to do is create a hillshade. And we're going to have this automated because you're going to have to do this about 10 times in the lab. So using the search window, let's search for hillshade. And don't open it, but just click on this guy and drag it into the model window. Alright, so now we have, here are the tools too. This is your arrow tool, so if you lose that because you've clicked on some other stuff, here's where the pointer is that allow you to just move these things around. They come in locked together because this is the tool and this is the automatic output for it. What we want to do is connect these together. Using the connector button, just draw a line, click, click, and we want to make the surface elevation an input raster. Right? And once we set that, then everything fills in and we have a reasonable flow here. So input, tool, output. We can right click and change these names. We want this to just be an input DEM. We're going to make it something that anybody can interact with. We want our output to be just a generic hillshade. It won't accept that because it's a tool that gets used. It's used right here. So I just usually put a little tag next to it, underscore, just so it differentiates. Okay. Okay, and like I said, we want to make these input parameters so that a user can decide which DEM they're going to input. So if you right click on the DEM oval and choose model parameter, it'll put a little capital P here. We also want our user, we want to force them to put it in the correct folder and call it something deliberate, because your hillshades should relate to the DEM you're putting in the first place. So right click here and make this also a model parameter. The other thing we want to do is, assuming that you have created some special symbology for your hillshade outputs. So if you're watching this and it's relative to the Antarctica lab, you went into the display properties of your hillshades and made it a standard deviation with an N of 2, and that helped the hillshade pop a little bit. We want to make sure we're applying that same symbology to our future hillshades that we're going to make for this lab. And we can do that by setting the layer symbology. So I right clicked on it, went to the properties, and we can use the layer symbology. So what you'll have to do, and you'll have to go back into your table of contents and right click on your hillshade layer that you created for the surface elevation. Just right click on it in the table of contents and do a save as a layer file, and just call it, hillshade, something simple, because it's just going to be a generic thing. Then we got that done, you can come in here and go to the Browse button, and I, in my Model Outputs folder, saved a binary layer as a layer file, the contour as a layer file, and my hillshade as a layer file. So you'll just go in and choose this hillshade layer file that you're creating. A layer file, remember, saves all the symbology, labeling, things like that, the way a data set looks. So all the work you did to set the symbology is saved as a layer file, and we can use that and import it and apply it to our future hillshades. Okay, so I'm just going to hit OK there. And then last but not least, we want to go into the hillshade and tell the model to add the output to to the display of the map automatically. You don't have to do that, but it's going to save us a step because we're going to want to vet our results as we go. So we haven't saved anything yet. We can hit the save button. Again, that doesn't make it a permanent part of this toolbox, but at least we've saved our work so far. This is the run button, and we can just give it a shot and see what happens. It runs in the foreground. You have to close it when it's done. It's automatically added to the window, and there's our hillshade. So this is a really simple model. It's a one tool. It also didn't ask us for these parameters, but it's because we're working within this ArcMap doc. We haven't kind of reset everything yet. What you're going to want to do to make this a more permanent thing so that if Arc crashes or if you have to close it and come back to it later, in the toolbox you want to go next to My Model. In the white space, don't ask me why they make it so obtuse, but right click in the white space, save settings. Oh man, you can't see it. And save to default. That's what this one says. It says to file and to default, and you want to default. Sorry about that. That should help lock it in here. In the instructions is a link to a blog where a guy kind of goes through and gives a whole bunch of different ways that you can save these models to make them accessible again. But right now this is a big kind of a, I don't know, a thorn in a lot of people's sides, that the models that people customize and make are so difficult to come back to later. If you're comfortable with Python, you can also save as, no, here, export to Python script, and then you'll have the code to work with this on your own. You can also save it as a graphic if you wanted to import your model and or export it as a JPEG and put it in some kind of a report. You can do that also. We're going to come back to this in a bit, but I just wanted to get you started. Thanks.